Hello everyone. I am Sanika and welcome back to the Clapingo podcast. And today we have two of our speakers with us, Keesha and Divyam. And I was hoping to talk a little bit about speaking anxiety today because I think a lot of our speakers come with this problem that they face when they're in social gatherings or in an official setting or a party or something, that they want to interact with people, but they get too much in their head and their anxiety gets the better of them. And which obviously it's a very uncomfortable feeling, and they don't exactly know what to say when nothing is coming to their mind. They say that my mind goes blank and everything. So today I was hoping a little bit to just address that. So what do you think? How do you think they can deal with this, and what do you think, how can they better prepare to deal with such a situation?
Um, so, in my opinion, we usually freeze when we don't feel prepared, right? So, it's the same thing when you don't feel prepared about something or you overthink it. So, it's usually a mindset issue, less a capability issue. It's more about what you're thinking and feeling. And sometimes, and this is something that I've come across the most. So, anytime that I have frozen while speaking, it's usually because I have been overthinking it and making it so much bigger than it is, where I don't even think I need to freeze, and then the voice will just stop coming out of my mouth. Like, I know what to say, I know that, but it just doesn't come out. So that's the way I freeze. And I feel it's usually a mindset issue. So if I feel more prepared and I feel like, okay, it's okay, then that doesn't happen. However, if I make it seem like it's a big thing or a big deal, it definitely creeps up somewhere, makes me look nervous, or I look underconfident while I'm speaking. So that's been my opinion with this and my experience with freezing while speaking.
Yeah. So I think mostly the problem is that instead of actually being present in the conversation, people usually tend to just put a lot of pressure on themselves that, oh my God, I have to say the exact right, perfect thing. So how do you think, Divyam, that, they can just get rid of that tension within their head?
So I think one of the biggest misconceptions that I see with the people that come to me for sessions, and not just that, in my personal experience as well, because this is something all tutors will understand. Once you become a tutor on Clapingo, everything in life becomes like correction. If you see someone making a mistake, you kind of feel like, oh, let me just correct them. Let me just let them like know what the correct grammar is or how to say it correctly. But there is one misconception is everyone thinks that learning English is just one thing, just okay, I need to learn English. But it has so many micro segments and categories and everything that people don't understand what they are falling short in. Okay, I'll give you an example. So basically, when it comes to anxiety or not being able to express what's in your mind, uh, practice is a really important point because a lot of people can say that same thing in their mother tongue very easily, but it becomes very difficult to say that in English because either they don't know how to say it properly, right? Which is one, let's say vocabulary is a problem, right? Another point is train of thought. They can't form the sentences correctly because if in their mother tongue, let's say the question, let's say in Hindi, they have to say, मैं जा रहा हूँ, right? So in English, they'll try to translate it, which is also another mistake that a lot of people say. They will say me going instead of I am leaving now, or
Yeah,
I should take your leave, or I
yeah,
should be going home, whatever the context is of the sentence. So
yeah,
I think it's really important before we get to this point, it is really important for people to understand what they're falling short in. And
yeah,
in these cases, mostly experts or people you talk to, even if your friends are better than you in English, you ask them what the problem is.
yeah,
Once you understand that and you understand what the actual issue is, then you can go to basically treat it or to solve that problem.
yeah,
What happens now is people just go on YouTube, go on, although they're really good resources, but I think you have to be very specific about what you are looking for. Only
yeah,
then you will get actual results.
yeah,
A lot of my learners come up and they'll say, I've researched so many things about vocabulary, I've researched so many things about phrases and idioms, but I'm not seeing the results after 1 month. And I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, because that's something that you may not need in
yeah,
that moment.
yeah. So it's interesting that you mentioned knowing your mistakes and identifying them before you can solve them. So what role do you think external feedback has to play in such a situation?
I mean, external feedback in any field in the world is obviously welcome. When it comes to football, cricket, we hear these stories that they've hired some expert coach, whether it's from the same industry or from another industry. Like how in cricket, video review technology has come in,
Yeah.
right? That is an external help that helps not just umpires, but even players to understand what technical abilities they need to master. In football, they've done a lot of things with data. Like, okay, if you do a certain action, what is the long-term reaction of that, right?
Mhm.
So I think that really helps because now that we are growing so much in technology, not just through apps and websites, obviously with AI, with a lot of other, let's say, pronunciation. Like Google has this thing where you type in a word and it'll tell you how to pronounce it in
Yeah.
British English, in American English, and in India at least there's an option for Indian English as well,
Yeah.
right? Although we would recommend not use that, but anyway. So I think it's really important to use these technologies to get as much help as you can so you can grow at a quicker pace.
Yeah.
I tell my learners the same thing that it's possible to improve your English by yourself. The only thing that Clapingo helps you with is to streamline and quicken that process,
Yeah.
right? You can go for a run if let's say you want to lose 10 kgs. You can go for a run for the next 1 year and then lose 10 kgs, or you can join the gym, get expert advice from the coach on how to diet properly, how to take care of your body, how to rest
Yeah.
in phases basically like
Mhm.
5 days working out and a couple of days rest. So that sort of expert advice is always going to help you achieve things quicker and in a more healthy manner, not
Yeah.
just physically, obviously with languages, with any skill, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think what you're saying, it all boils down to the fact that you should be open to seek help. And in order to seek help, you shouldn't feel embarrassed about making these mistakes or not living up to your own expectations. So, Keisha, what do you think? What do you think is the one thing that holds people back? Is it embarrassment, or is it the fear of making mistakes, or is it like a combination of those? And how can they, just what can they do to sort of overcome that?
You know, the irony of the situation is that you need to practice to get better at the language. And you cannot speak because you are nervous and you don't have enough practice. So it is this unending cycle which makes everyone really nervous. And like Divyam was talking about getting external feedback, one thing I do believe in, and this is something that I do promote for every learner that we have on our platform, is that we don't want you to practice incorrectly, because that can do more harm than good. It's better not to practice at all in some cases, because if you do the same thing incorrectly over and over again, you get accustomed to that mistake. And then to get rid of that habit takes you twice as much time, that much more effort to get rid of that. So that's something that you definitely don't want happening to you while you're speaking. And yes, it is a fear of making mistakes. It is a fear of feeling embarrassed. And it is a combination of experiences an individual has had. Maybe someone made fun of them. Maybe a teacher didn't appreciate effort taken. Maybe it's a combination of the environment they are in. So it's a lot of different things which play a role. Again, it all boils down to mindset. But one thing that can definitely help you is practice, and correct practice.
Yeah.
Where you get feedback, where you get that assistance to do better, or at least find a way in which you are practicing and you know what you're practicing is correct.
Yeah.
Because if I practice every single day, like I practice singing a song and I practice every single day with a trainer, without a trainer, but I do this every single day and I know how to hit the notes correctly. I know that I should start at this time, I should take my breath at this time, so that I don't pause or stop in the middle, and I do it every single day. I know that 30 days later, when I go up on that stage, I know I'm going to do well. I know that, unless there's some external factor. It's the same thing with a sport. It's the same thing with anything that you want to do. If you practice enough, you know that eventually you will be able to do it correctly. So Also, that gives you a lot of confidence because you've already done it. You've already said it. It's like in an exam when you've seen that particular question before and you practice it that night before, and then when that same question comes, the same numbers, everything is the same, and you're like, oh, I know how to do this.
Yeah.
So that's what you can definitely do. And preparation also really helps, is that when you're looking at things that are external and you're practicing something, you need to practice things that you can actually apply and use in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
If you're going to pick up something that is not going to be of any use to you, or vocabulary that you're never going to use in your day-to-day life, you're going to wonder why, you spend so many hours, but I can't use it.
Yeah.
And that's why, because so when you're preparing, you should prepare for things that will actually be of use in your environment, in the circumstances you face on a daily basis, in your company, your industry, your department, things like that. Then you know that, okay, what I'm using, what I'm learning can actually be put to use. So that can give you a lot of confidence while speaking and make you feel more prepared in any situation.
Yeah, I agree. And I think when you practice, I think the key with language is that it has to be subconscious. Like, if you pay too much attention, like it's like breathing, that you unconsciously do it. But if you focus attention on breathing, then you just sort of forget how to breathe. So I think what you mean is that when we practice every single day for 30 days, it becomes, it starts to come to us subconsciously. Just like that, I think also when we're in a situation where we're comfortable and we're actually having fun, I think we are so present in the moment that we just don't pay attention to, and I think uh, it's a combination of lack of practice and also just putting too much pressure on yourself.